The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Welcome. A couple of housekeeping items here before we get kicked off. Everyone's lines are muted upon entry. If you're having any technical difficulties throughout the session today, please feel free to send a chat to the event organizer. We will be recording and distributing the webinar after the event today. Q&A will be handled through the chat function, so if you have any questions, feel free to send them in that chat. And then lastly, CPE credit for today's session will be handled through a survey following the session today. So there will be CPE words thrown throughout the presentation that you will need to write down and then enter into that survey following the session today to get credit. With that, I'll hand things over to Marie and the team so we can get started.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are really excited to share what we're hearing in the nonprofit industry and ways that your nonprofit can be prepared to tackle some of the trending issues and opportunities. In today's webinar, we have a lot of exciting topics we're going to cover. We're going to start with nonprofit trends, focusing on technology and management. Then we're going to get into cybersecurity best practices, 990 and IRS updates, and then AICPA and FASB updates as well. Then we're going to allow you to take that 10-minute break, and we're going to come back and talk about decision intelligence and modeling, the employee retention credit as far as updates and considerations go, and then we're going to wrap up today's session with the single audit update. Again, we hope that you find a lot of our topics really exciting and interesting. We tried to focus on those that are hot, the things that we're seeing when we go out and talk to our clients. And we really do want you to ask those questions. So please use the chat. If for some reason we don't get to your question, we will follow up with those. All right, let's get started in the nonprofit trends. My name is Marie Primus, and I'm a shareholder and the nonprofit industry group leader here at Bergen KBV. I've been with Bergen KBV. I had to look at a calendar. I was shocked. It's been a little over 18 years now. And if you've known me at all, I'm convinced, and I tell everybody, that I have the best position here at Bergen KBV because I get to spend 100% of my time working with you all, nonprofits. Because nonprofits really have the most passionate and driven, innovative people I know. And your collaborative spirit is exactly what draws me to you. My focus is CPA services, which is the financial statement and single audits, along with reviews, compilations, and the IRS Form 990. But I'm closely connected with others that you will get to meet throughout this webinar that are experts in so many areas, so many other areas, I should say. And again, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is listed there. I'm happy to help, and if I can't, I'm happy to connect you with others that can. So I'm going to start. We're going to talk about the 2022 nonprofit trends. There was so much out there that I really had to kind of limit on the types of topics that I wanted to talk about. And these are going to be kind of teasers for things that we're going to get into with the other experts on this panel. So we're going to talk about the trends in technology and management. And I'll also give you some tips on what we're seeing our other clients or our clients doing to navigate these trends. Let's start with some technology trends. So first up is social media. Social media is forever changing, and it's widely used. When I went out and kind of looked for some statistics, it was a little eye-opening. So almost 4.5 billion people are active social media users, and that's not expected to decline. And almost 30% of online donors also give through social media. So what does that tell us? That social media is here to stay, that we can't ignore it. So the importance of social media to me means understanding who uses it, because social media isn't just for soliciting donations. It can be used to attract volunteers, program participants, community members, and employees, just to name a few others. And if you're one of my clients, you know I watch your Facebook page because that's how I stay up to date on what's going on with your organization and what's new and upcoming. So that's why my tip is to create and update your communication plan to determine how social media can best connect you to those individuals you're trying to reach. It's important to understand the difference between the platforms and the main users of each, as this can change your messaging, timing, etc. Every social media channel has its own best practices, and I am not that expert, but you can pretty easily Google or research that. And if you're not sure where to start with the communication plan, I'm happy to share some templates and guides that I've come across. For myself, I know I'm really thankful to have a 12-year-old daughter. She is up to date on those social media trends. I think that's just a great reminder that it's not probably just one person that will be in charge of this or monitoring that or coming up with a communication plan. I would involve several individuals throughout your organization and maybe even outside experts. So let's talk about the second trend that we're seeing, the power of smartphones. It wasn't that long ago that they didn't exist, yet it's so hard to remember life without them. Again, some pretty interesting statistics here, 271 million users in the US, and that's expected for 2022. Worldwide mobile advertising is projected to exceed 280 billion. And I also saw some statistics that were like 327 billion. The open rate for text messages, I had to look at this one like 2 or 3 times, 99% compared to email, that's approximately 30%. Again, I think this is a trend we can't ignore as nonprofits. So some ideas that your nonprofit could consider is making your messaging and soliciting mobile friendly. Format for easy reading. That can be as simple as using bullets, bolding, and headers, short, catchy subject lines, and preventing that pinch and zoom that we all like to do, or not like to do, I should say. There's mobile responsive email templates that can automatically do the adjustments for you. And update your donation platforms to allow things like digital wallets, like Apple Pay. Maybe consider using a QR code that's easy to share. With text messages being open at a much higher rate than emails, reconsider that email blast. Maybe try a text message instead. And personally, I know for those of you that have those great silent auctions, when I get that text message that tells me I've been outbid, I'm quick to click and make sure that I'm going to win that item. So very, very effective. So let's go into the third technology trend that we're seeing. And that's increasing connecting and collaborating that happens remotely. All the stuff that's happening remotely, our conferences, our meetings, our workforce. COVID's changed the landscape of how we're connecting with employees, board members, our community, donors. Nonprofits as well as others had to pivot quickly to the remote environment, with some choosing to stay remote or maybe changing to a hybrid model. The remote environment has unique challenges such as personal connections, which may be why storytelling through videos is so effective, with 57% of people donating after watching one. I know they're effective for me. I've seen many of your videos and they are heart-wrenching, so great job on those. There's been several tips, and I have several tips to consider when operating in a remote environment. First and foremost, have clear policies that are understood and monitored by those involved. I know we've even shared the one that we use here, remote workforce for Bergen KDV, with some of you out there, just because why start something from scratch? This could include listing acceptable software and applications that you're allowing others to use, requiring unique passwords, just to name a few. And stay tuned in the next session as Jake and Robin are experts in this area. For employees, this may mean investing in new tools for software for scheduling, messaging, and password management tools. For boards, this may mean a cloud sharing platform to be able to share those minutes and other documents. For special events or marketing, it may creating those videos to be able to tell your story when you can't be there in person. And let's move on to management. That's a lot of technology talk for somebody who's a CPA, so stay tuned though. We have more on cybersecurity coming up. But moving on to management, there's two trends that I wanted to talk about quickly because we're hearing it from all of you. First is investing in your people. It's extremely uncommon to find an organization that has not been impacted by the Great Resignation and the competitive hiring environment we're in. We're also impacted here at Bergen KDV. I would say this is the top, if not the top 3 common concerns of every organization that we work with. The last few years have really shaken up our workforce, and the focus has shifted to topics such as the importance of mental health and diversity and inclusion, just to name a few. I will say it's not uncommon for me to hear about the efforts organizations are taking. We're seeing more and more of your resources going towards diversity, inclusion, and mental health awareness. And like I said, it's being discussed from all the way to the top, from your boards all the way to your employees. And here at Bergen KDV, it's been a heightened focus too. So the past several years, we've had a whole week dedicated to mental health. And I know at this year's annual firm-wide meeting at Bergen KDV, employee wellness was an overarching theme. So we're hearing it and seeing it and feeling it too. And with that, we are at our very first CPE word. So the first CPE word is community. You will want to write this down. Again, I'll just hold it here for just a second. CPE word is community. All right, wrapping up here the nonprofit trends in management. The second one, I'm going to be very brief on this because we have an exciting session dedicated just to this. It is data, the power of data. So you're going to be hearing from our experts, Catherine, Laura, and Jason on this very topic. But I just want to say briefly, data is everywhere. And if you can compile it in a meaningful manner, the possibilities really are endless. I've seen it, and it does have a significant impact on your programming, your donors, your mission, everything. So data is everywhere, and what is all the great things that you can do with it, whether that be telling the impact that your programming has had, so a past thing, or maybe helping you determine what programming will look like in the future. The key points, I believe, are artificial intelligence is out there. What ways could you use that to be helpful to your organization? What tools do you use to make your data meaningful? How do you keep that data safe? Jake and Robin, I know you're all excited to talk about this shortly. How can you use your data perhaps to solicit donations or enhance the impact stories that you're telling? Lastly, with data at an abundance, nonprofits should remember to remain mission focused. Your mission is the glue after all. So mission creep pretty easily can happen, and that can stretch an organization thin and impact reputation. Suri wanted to tell you something too. I got this, Suri. Resources and reputation are two things you really don't want to mess with. So before I pass the presentation over to Jake and Robin, Bethany, did we get any questions in the chat?
One question here, Marie. You said maybe you could share something about a communication plan. Is there a good place to start with that, or should they just reach out through email to you?
If they could reach out to email, that would be great. So my email was on that introduction slide, and I do have a few that I ran across while I was preparing this, and a few that I've seen at some of our clients as well that are really, really well done. So I'd be happy to share those.